Well, good afternoon once again, everyone, and welcome to the Vancouver Aquarium. My name is Madeline, and this is Northern Spotlights. This is the show that takes us north with the Vancouver Aquarium. With me today is John Fisher, Senior Biologist here at the Aquarium. Welcome, John.
Oh, thanks, Amanda. Madeline.
Yeah, we're very glad to have you here. Welcome to all of you who are joining us at the aquarium, and welcome to all of you at home as well. Now, John has held many positions at the aquarium, from interpreter or naturalist to marine mammal trainer, and now to a senior biologist. And John, I don't know if you knew this, but you're a classic example of somebody with an acronym. Does anyone in the audience have any idea what an acronym might mean? Any guesses? Well, it's somebody whose name really matches their profession. So, John, your last name is Fisher, and so your name seems to match your profession. Of course, we're highlighting the Arctic at the Vancouver Aquarium right now, and you can definitely speak about the Arctic from first-hand experience. So you've been there several times. How many times have you been there now?
Yeah, I've been 4 times with working with the Vancouver Aquarium. First trip, I went to Iqaluit, which is on Baffin Island, and that's quite far south. It's actually below the Arctic Circle. And then I did 2 trips in Resolute Bay on Cornwallis Island, which is very high Arctic. It's a very small community of about 200 people up there. And then my last trip was to Cambridge Bay on Victoria Island.
Okay, and that was just this summer, is that correct?
That was in 2014, was my last trip, yeah.
Okay, great. Now, most of us have never probably had the chance to visit the Arctic, and maybe none of us will have that opportunity. So can you kind of paint the picture for us? What is it like to be up there?
Well, for me, it was quite different. It was almost like culture shock when I first got there. No plants whatsoever, no trees, no grass. You know, it's very harsh when you first get there. I spent my time, all my trips were in the middle of the summer when it was 24 hours to daylight. So you can very quickly get used to a beautiful light up there. It's these amazing, the light's amazing, and also the people up there. It's a different community. They speak a different language, and so I found that fascinating as well.
And what does it kind of even feel like to be up there?
Well, for me, it was a real sense of adventure. It was really unique because living in Vancouver in a big city, it's so different. We have all the amenities here. We can go down to the store and pick up a part if we're missing it, or a tool up there. You have to be self-sufficient. We have to make sure we pack all our gear and doubles of everything in case something breaks down. We're covered. So yeah, so it was a real sense of adventure for me.
Now, you referred to some equipment. So what exactly were you doing up in the Arctic?
Yeah, my primary role with the aquarium was collecting fish and invertebrates to bring back to the aquarium for display, and also we do a little bit of research on them as well. But secondarily, we also gave talks to the locals up there. I also helped teach a marine biology field course for college students up there, and then I also we built and installed an aquarium in the high school in Iqaluit, and put Arctic fish and invertebrates in there, and taught the locals how to look after it.
Neat.
So that was pretty fun too. Yeah.
Yeah, and was that the first time that some of them had ever seen some of the animals, some of the things that were under the sea?
Yeah, that's right. A lot of people don't see much marine life there. The ice, when it comes in, it scours about the bottom or top 30 feet or 40 feet of the shoreline. So when the tide goes out here, you see lots of life. Up there, you don't really see much because the ice is just, keeps moving around. Nothing gets a chance to settle there. So locals actually don't see marine life that often.
So that must have been pretty special for them.
Yeah.
Now, your role at the Vancouver Aquarium is quite fascinating because you get to bring Arctic animals home to us here in Vancouver, but I'm sure there have got to be some unique challenges to that. So what kind of challenges are there?
Interestingly enough, what I found with the biggest challenges, when we collect the animals up there, we set up a life support system, and we hold the animals as we collect them, and then we have enough to collect to ship back, then we'll ship them back. And one of the hardest parts is keeping the water cold enough in the summer, the air temperature can get up to 5 or 6 or even 10 degrees. So the water gets too warm. So we usually use ice that we get from the beach. We just go down to the beach and pick up little chunks of ice that are floating around. One summer, there was only one chunk of ice that was left in the whole bay. Wow. So we had to grab a truck, and we tied a bunch of ropes around it and actually towed it back through town to where we were holding our animals. So it felt kind of unusual driving a truck with a little iceberg behind me, hoping people wouldn't look too closely and wonder what I was up to.
Yeah, definitely. Now, that's interesting that you say that there was only one chunk of ice in the bay that year, which I wonder, we actually have an audience member here today, Rosemary from New Westminster, and she was curious to ask you whether you have actually seen any firsthand evidence of climate change in the Arctic. So,
yeah, that's an interesting question. I think for me, I don't think I've been up there enough times to really notice it for sure. Some years we go up there and the ice is pretty thick, but what can happen is the wind blows it around. So if the wind turns around 180 degrees, the bay can be full of ice. The first day you're there, you wake up next day and it's all gone. So there is that. There's a lot of variability of ice flow in the summer. But one year I was up there, the surface temperature of the water was a little bit warmer than some of the other people I talked to had found. So, but if I was going to ask that question, I'd probably ask the locals, the elders up there, because they have a lot of oral history that they would be able to say more about that.
Right. That local knowledge, that traditional knowledge, for sure, yeah. Now, you've given us a really great picture of your work up in the Arctic, but now back here at the aquarium, can you describe for us what kind of Arctic animals, invertebrates, and fish you have on display here?
Yeah, we have quite a big collection of fish and invertebrates here from the Arctic. And not too many aquariums display Arctic animals. It's hard to get up there to collect, and there's some special requirements, mostly keeping the water cold enough when you're back down here. So we're a bit unique that way, and I don't know of too many other institutions that have a large diversity of fish and invertebrates like we have. So I think we're a bit unique that way in the number of fish and invertebrates that we have here. Many that can be seen on display.
Right. What if people were to come to the aquarium, which we, of course, thank you for being here today, and encourage everyone at home to come, what creature would you encourage them to look out for?
Well, it's one of my favorites is the Arctic cod. It's a very important species of fish up there. A lot of animals feed on it. Seabirds, marine mammals, whales, that sort of thing. So it's a really important species, and we don't really know a lot about that fish, especially in terms of global warming. So we were lucky to hear that we were able to breed and raise several generations of Arctic cod, which for me was pretty exciting as a fish biologist. That's pretty fun stuff to be able to do.
Yeah. How exciting was it? What can you?
Well, for me, when I was in the marine mammal department, I was lucky. I was able to work with killer whale calves and other animals like that, which people always think is pretty exciting. But when you go and look at our Arctic cod, when they're newly hatched, about a centimeter long, they're kind of transparent, so they don't look very exciting. So it's hard to pass that excitement along to other people. But for me, it's the same thing. I get just excited about newly hatched fish as they do with larger animals.
Right. Yes. As exciting as a beluga being born, pretty much. Yeah. Excellent. So it must be quite a proud moment to be able to be the first on the team of the first biologists ever to successfully rear Arctic cod in North America. Yeah,
it was pretty exciting. When I first started here in the early 90s, we tried it a few times and had a little bit of success, but we couldn't get them to rear them to full size. We've learned a lot since then. It was a really, we tried a few times, and when it finally worked, it was really great.
That must have been very exciting. Yeah. Now, because we have the Arctic cod here that you've been part of rearing, they've also been able to be part of some research. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We're lucky, so we have the sort of expertise of being able to hold animals and rear them like that. A university PhD candidate was doing her PhD on Arctic cod, and she did all our work here at the aquarium, all our lab work, because we had such good facilities, and we shared a lot of our expertise together with her. Yeah, so that was. I hope that we do more collaboration of that kind of thing. Yeah.
And that must be quite fulfilling for you, John, is it?
Oh, it sure is. Yeah. And she's actually writing her PhD thesis right now, and she's already put in a couple of other publications.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, so it gets pretty exciting where the work that we do actually contributes to real science.
Yeah, and understanding more about the Arctic, I guess, and how the food web works and everything. And
exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of things we don't know about the Arctic, and it's a really rapidly changing part of the world. So it's important to learn some of these things. Yeah.
For sure, definitely. Now, I know that you have a very interesting connection to the Arctic through your dad, and of course also through your day-to-day work here. But can you tell us about that connection with your dad and the Arctic?
Yeah, it was kind of coincidence in a way that I'm up at the Arctic, because when I was younger, as a little boy, my dad was a marine biologist actually, so he went up to the Arctic to study marine mammals. So when I was younger, I used to watch him pack his cold weather gear and all his coolers and containers out to the airport, and then listen to his stories about the Arctic when he came back. So I was kind of funny when first time I was driving out to the airport with all our gear. I really thought about him and how he was going through the same thing, and here I am doing the similar work that he was doing in the Arctic. So yeah.
And he must have been working up there fairly early, one of the earlier people.
Yeah, he's one of the early researchers that was up there studying marine mammals for sure. Yeah. So probably in the late 40s and 50s he was up there. Yeah.
So that's really neat. Well, John, thank you so much for sharing with us about your work in the Arctic, and then also your work with Arctic creatures here at the Vancouver Aquarium. So what's next for you?
Well, I really hope the aquarium, we've been really working hard to develop an Arctic program here in a bunch of areas, and I hope we continue to develop the fish and invert part, especially close to my heart. I hope we send teams up there and continue working with the locals and learning more about the animals, as well as building our research side of things down here.
Yeah, definitely. Well, all the best with that.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so thank you so much again, John, Senior Biologist, for being here today for Northern Spotlights, and for everyone joining us. If you wanted to learn more about the Vancouver Aquarium's Arctic commitments, you can visit our website. So that's vanaqua.org/OurNorth. And we also have another Northern Spotlights coming up next Saturday, October 30th, when Amanda, who was here for some other Northern Spotlights programs, will be interviewing Anna Juarez, who is a marine mammal trainer at the Vancouver Aquarium. She works on a daily basis with belugas. So thanks all for joining us, and have a great rest of your day today.